You are listening to the Cinderberry Chronicles. Journey with us into the world of Copper Hollow.
Welcome to the dilapidated streets of Copper Hollow. I'm your narrator and voices of Amelia and Irene in this episode, P. Rose.
And I'm Orphin, and I'll be the voice of Hugo Shaw, Albert Wright, the Constable, and Silas Williams in this episode.
Chapter 4, Coldstone Steps. Earlier today at a fundraiser for Save Water for Everyone, Hugo Shah, representative of the Golden Continent and noted philanthropist, spoke up about the water crisis. Quote,
Cinderberry is a vast and beautiful city, but while rich men sit on their thrones, good, hard-working people are getting sick from the water supply. We need safe water for all of our citizens, not just those who can afford it. Everyone deserves a water filter. So please, rally your district representatives, write letters, make phone calls, and until the government acts, do all you can to support this worthy cause.
End quote. Teddy Fletcher of the Cinderberry Times. The orphanage looms over Amelia, casting its shadow down on her. She hugs her coat, taking a small comfort in its woolen lining, trying to close the gaping hole in her chest left by her aunt's passing. Sitting on the front steps, Albert holds her. She leans into a cushion he placed for her on his metal chest, tears rolling silently down her pale, freckled face. The rhythmic sound of his whirring motor gives her a slight sense of comfort. Police officers stomp in and out of the orphanage, Irene pestering them as they work. A large, moustached officer approaches the pair.
Well, officer, I do hope you have some answers for me and my granddaughter.
Albert stands, greeting the officer, using the chastising voice Amelia recognises from her childhood. His hard metal chest pushes out under his tweed suit, and his slender frame stands a couple of inches taller than the man. The officer ignores Albert and looks straight at Amelia.
Sorry for your loss, miss. After a preliminary examination, the medical examiner suspects natural causes. We expect a full report in 3 days.
She stands up, shaking her head. I'm sorry, natural causes? What exactly were these causes? The officer stutters.
Now, see here, miss, the medical examiner has given his expert ruling, and that's that. You ought to be grateful she died in her bed. Her neighbours are rarely so lucky.
A cough comes from behind the officer before Amelia can express her outrage.
Excuse me, officer. I am an associate of the deceased. I couldn't help but overhear. 3 days. Hardly seems like enough time to investigate a matter of such magnitude. Have you not heard of the Wrights? They built this neighbourhood. A little respect, sir.
The officer turns, stumbling on the steps. As he does, Amelia gets a glimpse of the stranger. He's tall and broad, dressed in fine attire, in his mid-20s with thick brown hair. The officer huffs.
Who are you to question such matters? This is police procedure.
He grumbles.
Silas Williams, of the Bronsmore Williamses. I trust you know the name.
He looks at the officer severely. The officer's eyes widen, his ruddy face turning pale.
Mr. Williams, my apologies. I'll personally see that the medical examiner does a diligent job.
The officer shuffles off quickly and Silas Williams turns his attention to a tear-stained Amelia.
I am sorry for your loss, madam. I had come by to share some good news and found this awful state of affairs. I had grown quite fond of your aunt of late. If there's anything I can do, just let me know. I know that the good Dr. Wright here is more than capable. However, I have lost people very dear to me, and I know how hard it can be.
He speaks with a tone of superiority, snobbish even, certainly not from Copper Hollow. Albert steps forward and reaches out to shake Silas's hand. He was always a sap for anyone who spoke highly of the right name.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I don't suppose you have little John with you?
Silas takes Albert's hand eagerly.
Well, that's the good news I spoke of. Little John is at the bottom of the steps there. I thought not to bring the boy up with me before I knew the full extent of the situation. Many thanks. I ought to go check on the boy. He'll take this news hard. Will you be okay, Amelia?
She nods and he creaks his way down the stone steps towards a small box covered in brushes and soot, speaking loudly and animatedly to anyone who will listen.
Why don't we go inside? A hot drink would do you some good.
Silas says, taking her arm and leading her inside before she can rebuke or thank him. They hobble up the steps, police officers keeping their heads down as they pass, avoiding looking at the pair. As they walk through the grand hall, she feels lost. The orphanage seems foreign to her somehow, its crackling fires no longer enough to warm her. As they enter the kitchen, the tinkling sound of porcelain echoes towards them. Cups of tea litter every surface, and a kettle lets out a high-pitched whistle. Irene frantically wheels about the kitchen. Sugar, sugar, sugar. Oh, Amelia, let me get you something. Tea, biscuits, cake? Amelia manages a smile at the old automaton, the hole in her chest easing a little. Tea would be lovely, Irene. But I see you've made a lot. Maybe I could just take one of these? Oh no, lovey. Those are for the officers. I'll make you and your guest a fresh cup. Irene stops Amelia before she can pick up a cup. Knowing that it is of no use, Amelia leaves Irene to make more tea. She and Silas walk into the dining room, allowing Irene to serve them. The bots are a little on edge, as you can imagine. You'll have to forgive Irene, she says, pulling out a chair. She goes to pull out her own chair, to which Silas lets out a small cough. Realising her faux pas, she reluctantly shoves the chair back into place and takes the seat at the head of the table. He sits next to her, tucking himself in.
Yes. I'd imagine the police would make them quite uncomfortable. They can be rather inconsiderate of automatons.
Amelia doesn't hear him. She doesn't even notice the door open as Irene wheels herself in, a tray of tea at the ready. Here you are. A lovely cup of tea to soothe the heart. There's nothing better for the soul than a good old cup of tea. No one knew that better than Ada. It was one of the few luxuries she would allow herself. Anyway, help yourself to the biscuits. Let me know if you'd like anything else. Irene's voice shakes as she speaks. She places the tea on the table and departs. Silas places his hand next to Amelia's. A decadent jet-black oval ring sits on his middle finger, embellished with a dragon insignia.
Your aunt never let me pull out chairs for her either. You right women are so different from your fellow ladies. I admire that.
She doesn't pay attention. Instead, she stares into the depths of her tea. Her whole body feels cold, and it takes everything she has to maintain some semblance of decorum. She grips onto her teacup, her knuckles turning white. After a moment of silence, he lets out another small cough. Oh, sorry, you were saying?
I understand. Your aunt was a remarkable woman. I remember the day I met her. It was in the market. I had never seen anything like it. A woman followed by several rundown automatons bargaining for parts. She was fierce. The vendors didn't stand a chance. She had them right in the palm of her hand. Some young boys in the marketplace had decided to cause a ruckus, throwing stones at passers-by. They began to target little John. It was horrific. I couldn't stand for it. I chased them off, the rascals. He was on crutches at the time, and the rascals had broken them, I'm afraid. So I helped your aunt carry him back here. The work she did was phenomenal. I've never seen such a talent. Well, it was right there and then I knew I had to get this place back to its former glory. I can't help but think, now your aunt is no longer with us, the bots will be lost. We need someone who can care for them. Someone they trust.
She shrugs, half listening, her mind still attempting to accept that Ada could be gone. I don't know. Ada was this place. Without her... She descends into silence. Besides, there's no money in it. I don't see how it could continue. Even if someone were willing to take up the responsibility. Silas takes her hand, squeezing it. She looks at her hand, wondering why the stranger is sitting with her.
I have money. I want this to succeed. Think of all the good that could be done here. We just need someone who can do the job.
He tells her. She pulls her hand away, taking her tea so as not to seem rude. She would rather be alone. Well, I'll figure that out when it comes to it. But right now there are other matters. She mutters, running a hand through her hair. She wonders how she is going to pay for the funeral. It's possible she could ask Tom for a loan, but she's already behind on her rent and Ada had said that donations were slow.
You don't have to worry about the funeral expenses. I'll have it taken care of. You allow yourself to grieve. I know you were very special to your aunt. She spoke of you often.
Her eyes widen. Oh, no. You can't. I don't even know you.
Your aunt deserves a good send-off. I would be honoured to do that for her, at least. And I would like to get to know you better, too. The way your aunt spoke of you. You sound exactly like the kind of person this place needs. I know that's what she thought.
Amelia looks down, shuffling in her seat. Silas stands.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You knew her best. Just think about it.
He pulls out a card, placing it on the table.
I'll let myself out. Please, don't get up.
That was chapter 4 of Copper Hollow. Hope you enjoyed it. This is part of a podcast series where we record the audiobook, where you get to be the first ones to listen for the wonderful price of free. What a harrowing scene. Police all over the place, Amelia beside herself, Albert attempting to comfort her, and a very strange, fancy young man stepping in to try and help with things.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this scene in terms of the story moving forward. Who is this young man? And the aftermath of Ada's death is definitely a huge, impactful moment in the story.
We mentioned before the death is the inciting incident, right? It was kind of important for the whole thing to function. And we mentioned how we really like Ada as a character, and yet you never get to meet her, right? But now we can see how it impacts the community, how it impacts Amelia especially, and Albert and the bots. Everyone is impacted by this. And one of the things I find is a quite sweet part of this scene is Albert's feeble attempt to comfort Amelia.
Yeah, he's such a hard shell that he literally has to put a pillow on his chest, but it's a really thoughtful thing, and it kind of, it'd be so easy he's definitely a curmudgeon, and he's definitely a stoic character, but I think it's nice that he has a soft side.
Yeah, he really does.
And he has empathy.
He does, yeah.
He just grew up in an era where displaying that is judged so harshly, and an era where stiff upper lip ruled. So arguably that's still the era that Amelia lives in, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So Albert is so hard on the outside, he's, as you said, the stiff upper lip, this larger than life figure, he's so important, so severe at times, but he does have this soft side to him. We're seeing it a little bit here. He really does care for Amelia, he cares for his family, and that soft side is kind of the whole point of the rights. As much as Albert is this stiff upper lip guy, the softness in him actually established the rights to be these caring guardians of automatons, essentially.
We'll get a lot into the origins in the future of the rights and automatons in general, but Albert is definitely a driving force in the charitable side of the rights, and really that they've become nothing but that, where they used to be wealthy. And presumably, they didn't get that wealth from nothing. But over Albert's time as patriarch of the family, he has seen the sort of draining of the coffers, and it's because he focuses on care.
He really does.
In spite of being a curmudgeon, he focuses on care.
Yeah, so the whole thing with the Right Orphanage is that they are attempting to gain rights for automatons. And he has spent all of his, let's call it his life, kind of his afterlife, but all that time trying to improve the lives of automatons, and he has made some strides in that general direction, but it has been an uphill battle constantly. And we can see this in the way the constabulary treat Albert.
Absolutely, and we see how much reverence that this Williams man gives Albert and his position, but the police officer talks directly to Amelia. Like, the police officer ignores him, just gives him the cold shoulder.
Yeah, like it's so rude, you know? Like, he is seen as the patriarch of the rights, as you mentioned before, and yet to be treated so carelessly, and it's because he's an automaton. And, like, it's not like the police officer really respects women either, you know? It's not like, oh yeah, he's really good to Amelia, but he's even ruder to Albert, who is actually a very important member of society, if perhaps past his heyday.
Yes, 100%, yeah.
And it's just like the way that he ignores Albert, talks to Amelia. Amelia then has to deal with him as well, and he's not great. Like, Amelia's like, what are the natural causes? Like, you know, he's so willing to write this off as just another death.
Mm-hmm. He is extremely rude to Amelia.
Yeah. And he doesn't, like, you know, he's not emotionally empathetic. He's not there to be like, okay, well, you've just lost somebody really important to you. Maybe we should be kind to you and help you in this time of grieving. No, there's none of that. He's just kind of like, oh yeah, she just died in her bed, be happy about it. Like,
yeah, and I think that also shows how much the rights have fallen as well, that he doesn't see them as a threat. This police officer is reading them as, oh yeah, these washed up aristocrats, you know, these washed up kind of wealthy people. He thinks he can get away with it because the orphanage has run out of bad times.
Yeah, and, you know, we see then that when Silas turns up, his tune changes very drastically.
Well, that's another can of worms, 100%. Like, both Silas puts the officer in his place, but there's something about Silas's name as a Williams that totally silences the police officer and makes him grovel at his feet, you know. So clearly there's some weight to the Williams name with regards to the police especially. And he puts him in his place and tells him about how the Wrights built this neighbourhood, you know. He kind of reminds him of, look, these are part of a protected class. You better behave yourself, you little servant, you know.
Yeah, exactly. We can see the class, like, that this man, he comes from, like, a very posh background. Do you know what I mean? So we can see that he has this respect for the Wrights as an old legacy family.
They may have fallen on hard times, but they're still part of the upper class in his eyes.
Yes. And so there's this idea of looking after his own class. Like, there's this going to be a constant theme within the book about the class divide within the city. And the Wrights are, as we've mentioned, in a weird place where, like, they have the title, they have the esteem, they have, you know, all these things, but they aren't always great on the money. They're like asset rich in the sense of, like, they have the orphanage, but the orphanage is there not to serve them, but to serve the automatons, right?
Yes.
So they're in this weird place where they've definitely fallen from grace. And this person here, who is quite posh, has come along to be like, we need to look after our own in that way, but not everybody feels that way about the Wrights.
And it's interesting also to see how Albert changes his tones, and he's almost reverential to this Mr. Williams character, who's a young man, but I think Albert, he wants to still be part of this class.
Yes.
And kind of gives him the reverence that
Yeah.
he thinks he deserves, you know.
And this is the man that Ada mentioned in her letter to Amelia, where he's gone the extra mile to help them find Little John. And apparently he's found him. Now, we'll meet Little John yet. Little John is a very fun character, or maybe he's annoying, I don't know. I find him enjoyable, but everybody to their own.
We're looking forward to people's impressions of Little John. Yeah, he's a little nightmare, that's for sure.
Yes. But, you know, so here we have Silas, who's come into this scene. Amelia doesn't know this guy. He comes in, he's helped Little John, he manages to deal with the police, and then he pushes himself on Amelia, almost. Like, he pushes his presence on her grief, like, while she grieves.
Yeah, he clearly has an agenda.
Yeah. We can see that Amelia's uncomfortable in the scene. Like, who is this guy? Why is he here in this moment when she is grieving for her aunt and trying to understand how her future looks in the chaos of this, or just how tomorrow will look, never mind the larger scale of things. How will she continue on? How will the family continue on when Ada isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was already a weight on Amelia's shoulders when it comes to studying and when it comes to her apprenticeship with Tom at the workshop that she starts at. and helping automatons and the plight of their situation. I think she was really leaning on Ada for a lot, and now it's been robbed from her. And I think this is not the first time she's suffered severe loss, and the Wrights have always suffered severe loss.
No.
It's always been a sort of downward hill for them.
Yeah, the rights tend to have early deaths, let's say that. And she's managed to deal with her fair share of struggles throughout her life.
Shared traumas, 100%.
We can see that, she's going through this grieving process, and just he's so pushy and imposing, and she is obviously not really there in the room. And we also see Irene here.
Yes, and we get to see Irene again, the bot who had fallen down the stairs before. Yeah.
Irene is an interesting character where, like, so she's been with the family for a very long time. Like, she is part of the family at this point. And Irene does a lot of the cooking and cleaning. I think she may have originally been made into an automaton that was supposed to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think she was designed as a domestic servant, yeah.
It's one of the ways that I think Irene expresses care, is that she will go out of her way to do these kinds of things to help the Wrights, because the Wrights have done so much for her. With the Wrights, they don't force automatons into a role, let's say. They let them find their own way.
Yeah, they will try to rehome them. They'll try and find them a position that suits them. And preferably, they will find somewhere where they aren't indentured, where they're independent people. But some bots just don't. It's not easy to fit in to a new role or find them a new family or a new place to live their lives. And sometimes they just are really a good fit for the orphanage and the Wrights, become part of the right family almost,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we met Blinky before, and he's kind of one of these characters that they couldn't rehome. Like, they needed to keep him on. And with Irene, I think she just settled in and she didn't really want to move on. And she's like, also, like, she's a bit crazy, a bit weird, but she's quite lovely as well, do you know?
Yes.
So I think, yeah, they found her there, and her presence was comforting, and they all fit together very well. And you can see that she's quite upset. I mean, she's making absurd amounts of tea.
She's just gone into work mode to cope with the loss.
Yeah.
So she's just making so much tea. I mean, the officers are barely taking up on the offer for tea, and yet she's started just making extra. She's just, that's her way of grieving. She's just getting lost in her work, and her work is to make a home and make tea and biscuits and cake.
And when she comes in to bring it in for Amelia and Silas, we can see that, she's struggling too, and she's trying to comfort Amelia in this moment, because I imagine Irene has lost a lot of people in her time, because the thing about automatons, of course, is that they have lifetimes much longer than the human lifespan.
Yes.
So she's probably seen lots of people come and go.
Absolutely.
She understands the grief. She's lived in the grief so many times before that I think as much as she is suffering in this moment, she wants to help Amelia, someone she saw grow up, who now has to deal with this horror.
I think Amelia is like a niece or a nephew to her.
Yeah. Like, she's definitely, like, Irene is like an aunt, definitely. This is the thing about the Wrights. They really do. There's this kind of found family feeling within the orphanage.
Yeah.
When you say, like, found family, a lot of the times it's like a friend group or something like this, but these are, like, literally just that there is an actual family here as well as a found family here, and it's like a mishmash of all of these kinds of different things.
I think it's another thing that sets them apart from a lot of the rest of their class as well, because the Wrights have this they break the taboo of class, and they cross over from not only wealthy and poor, but also from living and the so-called dead,
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's definitely some divides within, like, the living and the dead in this case. When we were writing this, I never really thought about it, but we were writing zombies, but, like, never really felt like zombies.
Yes,
It's not got that grotesque feeling of zombies.
No, yeah, I wouldn't quite call it zombies for that sort, but it's
Ghost in
definitely
the
dealing
Machine?
with similar themes, and a bit of a ghost in the machine. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like,
I mean, that's definitely the experience of automatons to a degree, and there's a level of disconnect between them and their bodies and their new existence that is different. It's not necessarily not alive.
Yeah,
it's just different.
They have to deal with this. Well, they aren't alive. Like, this is the thing. You've got it. Well, like, there's a living bacteria within them that makes them them. Like, we'll go into this another time.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a deep dive into it, but they are very much alive. It is just that the society considers them not being alive, and of course, they're in a totally new body, and their entire existence has been erased and sort of made a facsimile of.
Well, I don't know.
But,
I don't know if I agree with you on this. This is fascinating. Okay, because like I think they are dead. Like for all intents and purposes, like, you know, their body died. They're dead. But that doesn't mean that they can't still live. Do you know what I mean? Like they are like this is the thing, right? And this is the thing about zombies. They're not like mindless. They're not brainless. You know, it depends how you put it.
This is very much
They are still.
This is very much the debate around going through a teleporter. You know, your entire body, your brain, your everything will be totally vaporized. You'll be destroyed,
Theseus
but
Ship.
you'll be made
Theseus
a facsimile of on the other side. So, did you die? Are you when you get to the other side?
Isn't it Theseus Ship? Is that the one where it's like, oh, you take it apart bit by bit and you put it back together and it's still the same ship, but it's got all the different parts? Is it Theseus Ship?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
What you're
And it's like,
to.
is it the same ship or is it not the same ship? You know, because you've changed all the parts, but it's still like, you know, in the same shape and stuff. But here, you're not even the same shape. So, you know, there's like, there is almost this mourning that automatons have to go through for who they were, their human form, what they once were, and now they are in this metal body, and it works completely different. They have to like learn how to use it. You know, there's different, like, they don't have a great sense of smell. They're like, their vision is different. Everything about existence is different.
Absolutely.
And so it's just such a massive change for them.
And like we experienced with Lily in the first chapter, she was saying that she was estranged from her family and they don't really agree with everything to do with automatons. So there's cultural divides that some people see automatons as abominations. And I think that's common among the population, like what we saw with the preacher. There's a level of dehumanization and otherizing that people do not see automatons as their relatives that they once were.
Yeah. This is the thing, like, I don't think they stop being themselves, right? This is the whole point of it. They are still themselves despite taking away almost everything that they made them themselves. Theseus' ship again. Like, it's the thing where it's like,
well, that is it's
everything that's gone, but it's still them.
Yeah, what is life? What is living like? And I guess this really is a debate about souls as well, which we'll get into more about the beliefs in this world and in our own world. But in this world, there is a religious divide between how people think of a soul and whether or not your soul is destroyed when becoming an automaton. And I think there's some who see automatons as an extension of the soul, that's almost a religious, you know, a good thing, a theological debate that this is somehow in reverence to a god, that we're extending the life of a soul, whereas others see it as an abomination, just that the soul is dead, that there's no soul in the machine, the soul has been robbed but everything else has been left, and so they're no longer human.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's also fascinating because I think a lot of us, right, we think of ourselves as our brains almost, but we're not just our brains. I mean, like, our guts have a lot to do with who we are, like, you know, the whole gut bacteria and stuff like this.
You have a distributed nervous center, so it's also this growing body of evidence about how our consciousness may not just reside in our brains, how our experience may not just reside in our brains, but our experience is actually influenced by the reactions of our different nervous system, you know, of the different parts of our nervous system. And then, as you said, the gut bacteria, another growing body of evidence is how much a human being is a walking ecosystem of different organisms and how they work in concert with each other, or more like a colony. And how that colony can actually affect you hormonally or through other, like, neurological signals to say, I'm hungry, I crave sugar, I crave this, you know. And we are only scratching the surface, so that might go quite deep, it might not. It's a fascinating field.
It is a really fascinating field, and we can see how changing your entire being could completely impact who you are. So maybe there could be people who, they came back and they actually did change a bit, maybe not as drastically, But some people saw these changes, or even just saw the way they moved in this new body that didn't seem like the way they moved in their old body, and it just freaked them out and they couldn't be part of it, and they thought that this wasn't the person that they once knew, you know? There's so many things for these people when they become automatons to have to manage, that is a massive change for them all in itself, and can change them as a person to go through that change.
It's like Lily used to be a singer, and she had a potentially budding career as a starlet, and it was cut short, and now she's an automaton and she feels lost, like her talent, like everything that she had built her existence on is no longer valid in her new form.
Yeah, and this is the thing that the rights try to do for automatons, is that they are trying to show them that there is still life to be had. There is
that
still...
they can live a rich life,
Yeah, exactly. You know, just because you're an automaton doesn't mean that you don't get to enjoy the world as it is now. You just have to find that joy in different ways.
And I think that's a very inconvenient truth for the factory owners and for the others who turn people into automatons. They want you to be a tool, to be free labor, to be slaves. And obviously, if somebody has those rich elements of their life that proves that they're truly alive, that they are humans, that they're living creatures, then it is harder to justify that. And I think the narrative around them being dead and why they use these terms is to dehumanize them.
Yes,
so that
absolutely.
they can keep this gravy train going.
The factories win when, you know, people are dehumanizing automatons so that automatons don't get the rights that they should probably have, so that then the factories can not pay them, they can treat them terribly, and the workers, all of the workers, automatons and humans, lose because these people who have been turned into automatons are now taking up a lot of the jobs for the living as well, because the factories don't have to pay them.
And it's a vicious circle, because when people are desperate, they become automatons, and they agree to this on occasion. Sometimes they don't, they're most likely enslaved without consent, but they agree to this because they're so desperate to support their families that they need the money from becoming an automaton. So you might get a stipend for a certain number of years for becoming it.
Yeah, exactly. So it gets, you know, it's a perfect system for the factories, but it screws everybody else.
And these commercial interests then can also, and the ruling classes can point to automatons as a problem. It's so, again, as we said, it's very much in the previous episode, it's mirroring the immigration debate.
Yeah, it just lets you blame the problems for workers' rights on someone else rather than the actual people presiding over the workers' rights. Like, it's again and again the problem, you know? We're kind of coming to an end here, but I just wanted to bring one more thing up before we wrap up. At the beginning of each chapter, we have this thing called an excerpt, and I don't think we've explained it. So, at the beginning of each chapter, we have what is usually a written piece from maybe a newspaper, and it will be something that's gone out into the world. So it could be an advert, but often it is articles. And this is something that we've added to add a layer of world building to it all. You can see what's happening in different parts. In this one, Hugo Shah is talking about the water crisis within Cinderbury.
We have Teddy Fletcher talking about, quoting Hugo Shah and talking about the water crisis in the broader world, and just giving the context for how desperate things really are. So we have more eyes than just Amelia and Larkin to see this world.
You can see that we had a point of view from Larkin. The very first point of view was Lily. We have this idea, like, we want to be able to see this world from very different perspectives, so we can see why people act the way they act, how the social construction benefits and disadvantages people.
Absolutely. Which reminds me of our mysterious man, Mr. Williams, Silas Williams, and how he's going to come into the story, and clearly he has an agenda, and clearly he knew Ada.
He did, like, he is going to be such a big character in this. And just tell us what you think of him, because one of the things that I really love about this character is that I feel like your opinion of him changes from scene to scene.
Yeah.
Like, he is such a controversial character in the sense of, like, you think of him one way and then you think of him a different way, and it's just constantly changing. So, you know, comment, let us know what you think, because we want to know what you're thinking of him now, and so that you can look back on this when we get to the end of this series and see what you think of him then.
Yeah, we're so curious to see, because we, even ourselves, learning more about him, because characters kind of take on a life of their own, and the logical consequences of the context which you've written. And we have always had this evolving opinion of Silas, and he's such a deep character to get into. So we're really fascinated to hear what people's perspectives are, especially as the story goes on.
He changed before us. Yeah, he changed like as we were writing it. We had him as one character in the beginning, then he changed, and then changed again. So, you know, he is changing constantly, not just for the reader, but for us as the writers. Let us know what you think. Thank you so much for listening. And we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. This episode was written, produced and performed by R. Finn and P. Rose. Thank you to Alex Grohl, who created the music within this episode. If you would like to support the Cinderbury Chronicles and our writing, please consider sharing this episode or purchasing a copy of Copper Hollow, available on Amazon or Kindle. If Copper Hollow is not available in your region, please contact us at copperhollowbook@gmail.com. Your time, engagement and feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for listening.